The following video is brought to you by YouTube, the erectile dysfunction of modern entertainment. Sonic and the Black Knight turned 15 years old this year, which has not only added to my growing sense of existential dread, but it also marks 15 years since the end of the dark age of Sonic games. And what an age it was! Full of gimmicks and experimentation, crazy ideas, risky decisions, and plenty of ups, downs, and all-arounds. It was a pretty rocky part of Sonic's history when it came to the critical reception of the games that came out during that time. Games like the infamous Sonic 06 hit the series so bad that it still hasn't recovered 18 years later. Nowadays the series is doing pretty damn well. Frontiers was a huge step forward, depending on who you ask. The IDW comics are doing well, depending on who you ask. There's Sonic Prime. And the Sonic movies are critical and financial successes that have introduced a whole new generation to our favourite blue rat.
Don't you know anything? I'm not a rat, I'm a hedgehog!
But as great as all of this is, there is something missing. A sense of identity. Sonic spent the last 10 years or so floundering around, desperately trying to find its voice, recapture a magic that was lost. A magic that's been missing since Sonic and the Black Knight.
Like a sword, I run into the heat of day. Like the night, I fight until the fight is won. In the rage, I sing each and every one till this war is won. And I'm meant to rule by the sword, slicing through the air, bring inch of the power in you. As I stand by the pale like a man, my kingdom, I'm the light of the wind, the light of the wind.
So let's dive into Sonic and the Black Knight and analyse everything that makes it so Sonic. Black Knight is a sequel to Sonic and the Secret Rings, and because of this, both games have a similar structure. Sonic moves on a set track with a limited range of motion, only being able to move in 4 directions. The games focus less on platforming and more on spectacle and reaction time, which works fine for how limited the movement can be. But Black Knight introduces 2 standout features that elevate it beyond Secret Rings. The first feature is this little thing called an analog stick. Wow, look at it go! I move the stick and Sonic follows! What wizardry is this? This not only fixes the biggest problem with Secret Rings, that being its horrible motion controls, but the movement in general just feels good to play. Is it perfect? No, walking backwards can be a pain since you have no control of the camera, and the few levels that try to function more like a traditional platformer don't really work with this control scheme. It's a game that works best when you're charging full speed ahead. The second feature is this pointy hunk of metal in Sonic's hand. That's right, Sonic's got a sword, because of course he does. Look at this smarmy little tool. I didn't think it could get any cooler, but look at him! The swordplay in this game is pretty fun. The controls are basic enough, just waggle the stick and Sonic will mow down everything and everyone in his way.
Greetings, stranger. May I offer you some of our finest wares?
Holding down the B button will activate the Soul Surge, which slows down time and allows Sonic to lock onto an enemy and subsequently relieve them of their breathing privileges. And if you time your swing to whenever Caliburn, that's the name of the sword, glows, the soul meter will fill up, meaning you can keep your combo going for as long as you want, provided you get the timing down. Then there's my favourite move in the game, the combo swing. Time your swing to when you activate the homing attack in front of a group of enemies and Sonic will do this. I appreciate a Sonic game with a body count. The gameplay in Black Knight doesn't have a lot of depth, but it makes up for it by just being so satisfying. It really sells the idea that Sonic is this unstoppable force of nature, as you slice through armies of actual demons like it's nothing. Honestly, the biggest problem with Black Knight's gameplay is how poorly it can convey its mechanics. For instance, did you know there was a kick attack in this game? I've owned this game for 15 years and I'm only now just finding that out. Did you know there's an entire honor system that rewards you based on your good deeds? Did you know you can craft weapons for the Knights of the Round Table that can only be used in like 5 stages? Remember this icon that pops up in boss fights? Did you know you're only supposed to swing the Wii Remote once, despite the icon making it seem like you should be shaking it like a psychopath? Do any of these ruin the experience? No, not really. The only major problem is the Wii Remote icon, but even then, most boss fights can be taken down pretty quickly. Honestly, the boss fights in general are pretty lame, with the exception of King Arthur and the Dark Queen, which actually reward you for timing your swings. You can beat King Arthur in under 30 seconds if you get the timing perfect. But the rest of the boss fights are pretty simple. The Knights of the Round Table are made of tin foil, and the only other boss is this dragon who's super easy to beat. unless you happen to be an idiot. So that's the gameplay of Sonic and the Black Knight. It's all style with little substance, but it's pretty damn stylish. So with that out of the way, let's move on to... Sonic and the Black Knight takes place in a dark, murky, depressing land known as England. And take it from me, it's never looked better. The art direction in this game is top tier. Not only is it super impressive for a Wii game, it's just cool. There's this wonderful blend of fantasy and realism without ever leaning too much in one direction. Each level theme is distinct and memorable. Misty Lake is calm and mellow, naturally easing the player into this strange new world. Camelot Castle has you running through this bustling town and smashing your way through the sewers. The Deep Woods has this little village surrounded by booby traps in an enchanted forest. The Great Plains is a collection of ancient ruins that's been turned into a prison for these big ogre guys. Crystal Cave is... a cave with crystals in it. Molten Mine is a coal mine inside a volcano, and Fairway Avalon is this great place for our final battle against King Arthur as it bathes in this golden light. The character design is also great. Melina is stylized without coming across as too realistic or uncanny, and she's downright menacing when she takes over as our main villain. King Arthur looks like something out of a death metal album, and Caliban is a talking sword. What more could you want? Then you have the Knights of the Round Table, who are portrayed by different characters from the series. Our main three consist of Lancelot, Gawain, and Percival, who resemble Shadow, Knuckles, and Blaze respectively. I love these guys, and I love the concept of reimagining characters we know into different genres. I love how you can get a read on their personalities through their weapons and fighting styles. Lancelot uses a reverse grip while using his sword Arendite, possibly showing his ruthlessness, which not only fits for Shadow, but also the real story of the sword itself, which was created by the Lady of the Lake and becomes cursed after Lancelot kills Gawain, something that's referenced by Melina. Gawain uses Galatine, which are essentially two giant axes, showing that he's the muscle of the group, not unlike the Knuckles we know. And Percival has Levitine, which is styled after a rapier, showing us that she's the most disciplined and graceful knight of the Round Table, which also fits Blaze's character since she comes from a place of royalty. Also, fun fact, Levitine was a flaming sword from Norse mythology that was wielded by Surtur during Ragnarok, which ties into Blaze's pyrokinesis. That's pretty neat. But of course this is a Sonic game, and if there's one thing Sonic always gets right, it's the music. And Black Knight has one of the best soundtracks in the series. Every song here is a hit, from the stages to the cutscenes, even the menus. The whole soundtrack is a perfect blend of grand orchestral scores and the high energy rock and roll Sonic is known for. Oh, and did I mention we have 4 Crush 40 songs in this game? That's right, 4. And oh, how I've missed you, Crush 40. I'm so tired of listening to Otani and his choir of bees. Another overlooked aspect of this game's score is how different leitmotifs are sprinkled through the story and the gameplay. The game's main theme, Night of the Wind, is incorporated into a bunch of different tracks and serves as a through line to Sonic's character, from the beginning all the way to the end. The same goes for Melina's theme, which comes back in a big way in the game's final boss theme, With Me. Melina really earns her place as the main villain despite not being in the game that much, and so much of that is thanks to the score. The music does a fantastic job of putting you in Sonic's shoes. The contrast in musical styles is a great way to mirror Sonic being in an unfamiliar world and the chaos he brings as he blasts through it. Black Knight also brings back some songs from the adventure games. Something that could have easily felt cheap and manipulative, but they utilise them pretty well here. It makes the whole game feel like this grand finale, this end of an era. And given what happened to the series after this game, it kinda was. But to get into that, we'll have to dive into... You all know the drill by now. Sonic and the Black Knight has one of the best stories in the series. Sonic is thrown into the story of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table by Melina, the granddaughter of Merlin the Wizard. Melina needs Sonic's help to defeat King Arthur, who's been corrupted by the Scabbard of Excalibur, which grants him immortality and an army of Knights of the Underworld. So Sonic gets a talking sword called Caliban, and the two set off on a journey to defeat the Knights of the Round Table, put a stop to King Arthur, and become a true knight. Seems pretty simple, right? But there's two major factors that make this story one of the best in the series. The first factor is Sonic himself. This is Sonic at his peak. He's perfectly written. He's cocky and arrogant, but laid back and kind. He loves the thrill of danger, but he'll stop to help someone in need. He fights for what he thinks is right, and he doesn't care if he's the hero or villain. Sonic isn't bound by a code or a sense of justice or some grand philosophy he can spout platitudes about. Sonic is just a guy who loves adventure, living by his own rules and having a blast while doing it. The man is dropped into a literal hellscape and comes face to face with a possessed king and an army of demons, and this is his reaction.
Oh, I get it. No problem. I'm used to stuff like this.
Now, in order to fully appreciate Sonic's character in Black Knight, we need to dive into the second biggest reason why this game's story is so good. The twist.
With this scabbard, I can erase my grandfather's greatest mistake.
What?
I shall make this kingdom eternal.
Sonic, get back!
Turns out that King Arthur never existed to begin with. He was actually an illusion created by Merlin. Melina wanted Sonic to get the Scabbard of Excalibur so she could use its power of immortality to create a world that will last forever. See, it's hinted early on that Melina is dealing with some kind of grief. It's implied that she's still reeling from the loss of her grandfather, and she's struggling to come to terms with her own mortality. The focus of the finale is the opposing ideologies between Sonic and Melina. When Sonic confronts Melina, he asks her why she did what she did. Melina explains that the world will end no matter what, but she has the power to make it last forever, to finally be free from her pain. But Sonic doesn't listen. I love that Sonic doesn't waste time trying to talk her down here. He immediately springs into action and lets his actions speak for him. The story works so well because Sonic is thrown into a world that directly opposes his way of thinking. Sonic doesn't care about honor or chivalry, he just does what he thinks is right. He'll kill King Arthur without a second thought, but he'll still go out of his way to save Percival. This is unrelated, but I really like how Percival says Gawain.
Gawain.
Gawain. Sonic is a flat character. This means he doesn't change or grow or develop over the course of the story. I see a lot of people nowadays reject this idea and treat it as nothing more than a restriction that makes Sonic less interesting. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Sonic is a great character because he doesn't change. His role in the story is to influence the change in others. Sonic is able to overcome impossible odds time and time again by staying true to himself no matter what. He never gives up, never doubts himself, never worries. And when all hope seems lost, when he's beaten and broken, when he can barely stand, he gets right back up. Because it doesn't matter what the world thinks. It doesn't matter if he's the hero or the villain. Sonic will always stay true to himself.
It was never about chivalry for me. I just gotta do what I've gotta do. That's all!
I love how Sonic isn't fighting to save the world, but to end it. Now, it's implied that Melina is going to destroy the world and rebuild it, but her motivation is to create a world that will last forever, and I love that Sonic is put in this position. Sonic lives in the moment, he lives for adventure. He doesn't stay still long enough to think about what happens when we're gone. The conversation Sonic and Melina have during the final boss is fantastic, it's like a debate. And I love how both sides are understandable. We've all dealt with grief, depression, anxiety. We spend our whole lives doing what we can to accept that we won't be here forever. People in our lives will come and go. We all wish we could turn back time, try again, but we can't. But how can we go on when nothing really matters? Sonic and the Black Knight isn't about good versus evil. It's about nihilism versus existentialism. To quote the world's happiest Frenchman, philosopher Albert Camus, yes, we're really doing this, the realization that life is absurd cannot be an end, but only a beginning. Melina is right. Life has no meaning. There is no grand design, no purpose, nothing. All she knows is pain and loss, and she'd do anything to stop that pain. But as our pal Albert says, the only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. Now, who does that remind you of? Life may be meaningless, but that doesn't mean it's worthless. We discover our own purpose, find our own meaning, live life the way we want. Life is whatever you make it. After the boss fight, we get one final confrontation.
Merlina, every world has its end. I know that's kind of sad, but that's why we gotta live life to the fullest in the time we have. At least, that's what I figure.
Is there really anything more Sonic than that? Sonic has no profound philosophy, he doesn't live by a code of chivalry and honor. Sonic is just Sonic. The story of Black Knight isn't just great because of how well Sonic is written, it's because the story is ultimately about Sonic. Sonic is the embodiment of life, of freedom. He's the walking definition of living life to the fullest. Black Knight isn't just the end of an era, it's a celebration of Sonic as a character, what he means, what he represents. Sonic and the Black Knight is far from a perfect game, but it understood Sonic as a character more than any game since. There's a reason people still look back on it fondly, because even now when Sonic is seemingly getting back on track, no other game got it quite like Black Knight. I may not be a fan of the current direction of the series, but I'll never stop loving Sonic. It's easy to get caught up in the discourse and the discussion surrounding the characters and how they should be portrayed, but we're all here for a reason. Because some way, somehow, this little guy struck a chord with us. Sonic may take many forms, whether it's Prime, the movies, the comics, but for me, there's only one: Knight of the Wind.
So yeah, that's what happened. To think I was called in to be part of the tale of King Arthur. But I gotta tell you, it was no picnic.
Aren't you forgetting something?
What? All the action? All the excitement down to the wire? But man, would have thought I was the real King Arthur. Huh.
That's the lamest excuse ever! You just forgot about our date!
No, it's true, I tell ya! Yikes! No! Amy, wait! Put down that hammer!